My name is John Guy. I wrote my biography of Mary Queen of Scots in 2004. It's now a major film starring Saoirse Ronan and Margot Robbie, with Guy Pearce and David Tennant. The door opened to reveal Mary on her knees praying with her bedchamber servants. Andrews informed her that the time was at hand, and she looked up and said she was ready. She rose, and her gentlewomen stood aside. She was still aged only 44. Born and brought up to be a queen, she walked confidently through the doorway, as if she were once more processing to a court festival. Almost 6 feet tall, she had always looked the part. She had been feted since her childhood in France for her beauty and allure. Charmante and la plus parfaite were the adjectives most commonly applied to her singular blend of celebrity. Not just physically mesmerizing with her well-proportioned face, neck, arms and waist, she had an unusual warmth of character and the ability to strike up an instant rapport. Always high-spirited and vivacious, she could be unreservedly generous and amiable. She had a razor-sharp wit and was a natural conversationalist. Gregarious as well as glamorous, she could be genial to the point of informality as long as her grandeur was respected. Many contemporaries remarked on her almost magical ability to create the impression that the person she was talking to was the only one whose opinion really mattered to her. As a result of premature aging, caused by the inertia and lack of exercise of which she had so bitterly complained during her long captivity, her beauty was on the wane. Her features had thickened and she had rounded shoulders and a slight stoop. Her face, once legendary for its soft white skin and immaculate marble-like complexion, had filled out and become double-chinned. But captivity had not altered everything. Her small, deep-set hazel eyes darted as restlessly as ever, and her ringlets of auburn hair seemed as lustrous. Mary had been awake for most of the night and had carefully prepared herself. This was to be her grandest performance, her greatest triumph. She had considered every detail. Her clothes set the tone. She appeared to be dressed entirely in black, apart from a white linen veil. Lace-edged and as delicate as gauze, it flowed down from her hair over her shoulders to her feet in the French style. Fastened to the top of the veil was a small white cambric cap. It just touched the tip of her forehead and was also edged with lace, leaving room for her curls to creep out at the sides. Her gown of thick black satin reached almost to the ground to where it was attached to her train. Trimmed with gold embroidery and sable, it was peppered with acorn buttons of jet trimmed with pearl. A closer look revealed an outer bodice of crimson velvet and an underskirt of embroidered black satin, both visible where the gown was fashionably cut away. To bedeck it, Mary wore long, richly embroidered slashed sleeves in the Italian style, under which could be seen uncut inner sleeves of purple velvet. Her shoes were of the finest Spanish suede. Later, it would be observed that she wore sky blue stockings embroidered with silver thread and held up by green silk garters, these on top of soft white stockings that she used to protect her skin from chafing. She carried a crucifix of ivory in one hand and a Latin prayer book in the other. A string of rosary beads with a golden cross hung from a girdle at her waist. Around her neck lay a silver or gold chain on which hung a pendant, a medallion bearing the image of Christ as the Lamb of God. Led by Andrews and followed by the two earls, Mary walked along the corridor and into a larger room where her household was waiting to greet her and bid her farewell. An eyewitness, perhaps the Earl of Kent himself, wrote that she exhorted her servants to fear God and live in obedience. She kissed her women servants and gave her hand to her men servants to kiss. She asked them not to grieve for her, but to rejoice and pray for her. One of them afterwards reported that she showed no fear and even smiled. Mary then descended the stairs towards the great hall on the ground floor. Her legs were so swollen and inflamed by rheumatism, she leaned for support on the arms of two soldiers. When the procession reached the anteroom to the hall, they encountered Andrew Melville, her steward, who who knelt and, fighting back the tears, cried out, "Madam, it will be the sorrowfullest message that I ever carried when I shall report that my queen and dear mistress is dead." Mary answered, also weeping, "You ought to rejoice rather than weep, for that the end of Mary Stuart's troubles is now come. Carry this message," she continued, "and tell my friends that I die a true woman to my religion, and like a true Scottish woman and a true French woman."